Hey, how is everybody doing? Whoa, that's way loud in my ears. Hopefully that's not too loud in your ears. That probably went pretty high. So I apologize. How's it going? Happy New Year. Probably Merry Christmas to some people. I haven't seen some people in a little bit. I do apologize. Give me one more second. Gotta make one more change. Man, apologize for the delay. I thought it was me, but I can actually really blame it on Twitch this time. So they had some problems. I guess with chat, I was having problems with more than chat. It was setting my stream information, chat, all of my alerts, all my events, and I was like, oh my gosh, what did I break now? Automatically, I start diving into PiHole. I'm like, what are you blocking now? Because I like to blame things on other people. But I was kind of blaming it on myself and not necessarily on PiHole per se, because, obviously it only blocks what I tell it to. But when you add tons of block lists to PiHole, you have no idea what's going on. One of the reasons why I kind of take it pretty safe on PiHole. It's always DNS, yeah, for sure. And so, yeah, that's exactly what I started doing, was just like, hey, what is going on? Opening up PiHole, querying my logs, trying to sign in. I don't see anything blocked. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not getting blocked. What's going on? Man, and then yeah. So I apologize for the delay. I have one more adjustment to make before I can focus 100% on what's going on. Where's my headphone levels? If I can't find it in 2 seconds, I will just do without it. So how's everybody doing? Hopefully you're good. Hopefully you had a happy new year. What is today, the 2nd? I don't even know what day it is. I've had time off and it's been fantastic, but I can't remember what day it is. I know it's Saturday, but I don't know the date. I cannot find my headphone button. Where is this? This should be easy. There it goes. All right, that should be a little bit better, at least for me. So man, first of all, yeah, happy new year. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. I haven't seen you guys in a while. I kind of took the week off from streaming just to kind of focus on some stuff, get some stuff done around here, and but yeah, I'm back. Happy Saturday. Wow, all the hype train, man, you guys are awesome today. Like, man, that was crazy intro. So real quick, let me get to that before I get into comments. I noticed my mic is probably peaking. And yeah, I'll get into other mic stuff here in a minute. But man, Jorson, resub, thanks for the resub. Appreciate it. 2 months already. Null Route, resub, Prime, 4 months. Thank you so much. Flex 420. All right, Flex 420. Thanks for the sub. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the support. iLude, resub, tier 1, 4 months, dude. Dude, iLude, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Splashy cheered 100 bits. Dude, thanks for the bits. Hopefully you enjoyed my Mega Man, my little Mega Man post, my Mega Man GIF. There we go. Now my volume levels look a little bit better. So I've been playing with a couple of things. So I got a new microphone. I don't know if you noticed, but in my videos, I got a new microphone. My audio's been terrible the last 2 times. So I apologize. Hopefully I'm working through all of that, and hopefully I get that sorted out. So we'll see in the next one. Man, so how's everybody going? How's everybody doing? What is new? What are you guys working on today? It's a new day, new year. Hey, Sigor, how's it going? Sigor, resub 4 months. Man, a lot of 4 months resub today. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Sigor. How you doing? How's it going? But yeah, so what are you guys working on today? It's a new year. It's 2021. All kinds of new projects, all new tech. Yeah, it's same tech from last time, but a new perspective on tech, I guess I should say. Null Route. I think, who was in here first? Let's see, first of all. PC Geek was in here first. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it, dude. Thanks for your help. Knock knock Neo. Null Route, my glass sphere says it will be resub time during the stream. I appreciate it. I appreciate that so much. Let's see. Banana. Whoop whoop Jorson. Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much. Is that Jorson. Thank you so much. Yeah, Twitch stream is working now. I totally agree. Sly Human, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Happy Saturday to you. Flex 420. My first time watching. Hello, how's it going? Man, Flex 420, first time watching and a sub. Dude, thank you so much. Appreciate it. How are you doing today? Let me know if the music's a little bit too loud. Whoa, Transformer sounding music. Yeah, I was trying something new. So I mean, you guys know, I say this a lot. Maybe you don't if I'm new, but Harris Heller is a very popular streamer on Twitch. He's a very popular YouTuber. He runs the Alpha Gaming channel. And he also created this thing called StreamBeats, which is royalty, not royalty, but DMCA free, I guess I should say. Snoopy, thanks for the sub, appreciate it. Dang, thank you so much. Thanks for the sub, appreciate it. Anyways, but Harris Heller releases DMCA free music is probably the best way to put it. For Twitch streamers and content creators, and so he released a couple of things yesterday, and so I was like, well, I'll play this his new album, and so I was playing it, and it's pretty amped up. It's pretty energizing. It's a little more energizing than I think I have. So I had to, after the first track, I was like, I should probably scan this first, because my usual music is a collection of music from him. And so anyways, I kind of screen it first. And so I didn't screen that one. I was like, whoa, this is high energy. I don't think I can match this energy. So anyways, and this is pretty high energy too, but it's a little bit different than the new EDM one. So I'll have to screen it first, but it's all free and it's all good. So yeah, hats off to Harris for that. Hey, just had a follow. Mezel. I'm going to go with Mezel. Mezel, hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. So let's see. Transformer sounding, yeah, it totally was. iLude, stream again. Life is normal. Yeah, man, I totally agree. I know. Hey, Green Meek. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. iLude, yeah, I was just saying I had to take some time off, and I've been down to 2 streams a week, and I was like, well, this is going to be basically a 1 because I still stream today, but I needed the weekday nights to straighten out a bunch of stuff. So anyways, yeah, so let's see. Flex420, you're welcome. Thank you so much. PCK, K, what's up? Whoop whoop, instant. Man, you guys are full of energy today. I love it. I love it so much. What's the new emote we got? 2020 Wish? I like this. Emote, 2020 Wish, Twitch Bits rewards. Wow, thank you, iLude. Choo choo. Yeah, I can't believe we hit the hype train too as soon as I went live. Dude, thank you guys so much. You guys are so awesome. Sly Human. Can you share a diagram of your home network and services you have working again? Maybe. It's changed quite a bit. It's changed quite a bit over time. Especially I'd say the last 3 months, it's totally changed. So everything I used to know about it is totally different, which is another reason why I just use DNS now, because I've had to switch subnets and IPs and move servers around so much that I couldn't tell you what the IP addresses are of my servers anymore. I mean, I know a handful, but I think that's the way it should be. Because I had every server in my infrastructure. I knew the IP address for everything. And I was just like, yep, well, going into Kubernetes, yep, know that IP there. Oh, going into my, Blue Iris camera, yep, know that IP there. And I knew every IP, and it was probably 40, probably 40-ish, maybe more. But then there were IoT devices I didn't care about. But the last couple of months, I redid all of my network. Now I'm redoing all of my infrastructure. Now I don't even care anymore. I'm just like host names. So that was kind of painful at first to switch to DNS, but now I'm so glad I did it. Especially with CNAME support now, and PiHole too is really cool because I can bind all of my I can create CNAMEs for all of my A records to point to other devices, and if that IP ever changed, they all change. So I know that some services are hosted on very specific IPs, and I've been creating CNAMEs. So I'm still I've only created a few, only because Gravity Sync doesn't sync those yet. So I'm like, I don't want to 100% buy into CNAMEs, but I will soon. But diagram my network. I wish I had my pen here. I don't have my pen. Maybe I'll Photoshop something in here if we have some extra time. It'll be very bad and very crude, but it'll give you an idea of my home network. Yeah, for sure. Hey, the Nerdy Hamster. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Man, you guys are spending points too and following. Thank you so much. HomeLab New, 3 days till I get to resub with Twitch Prime. All right, yeah. Isn't Twitch Prime so weird? They're like, hey, you want to resub? And it's like, just kidding. You got 3 days. They try to trick you into I guess I wouldn't say trick you, but it's kind of weird how they do it. They're like, yeah, you can resub, and you click on the button. It's like you have 3 days remaining, or you can pay now. It's like, no, I'm gonna use the one that comes with my Prime subscription. Speaking of, hey, Mount Bread, MT Bread. I'm gonna go with that. MT Bread. Thanks for the sub, Prime sub. Thank you so much. How are you doing today? But yeah, anyways, don't get tricked by Twitch and their buttons. Wait for that timer to hit. Let's see, PC Geek, nice, just in time for Tuesday. All right, yeah, oh yeah, Tuesday stream, yeah, for sure. PC Geek, I'm done trying to get GPUs in my T710. It doesn't play nice and is a waste of time, money for sure, just to do NVR recording. Yeah, so I do NVR recording too. I mean, you know that. I use Blue Iris here at home. Hey, Zoker DE. Is the DE for Germany? All right, thank you so much for the sub. Appreciate it. Welcome. Thank you so much for the sub. New names, new follows, new subs. Man, you guys are awesome. What a great start to 2021. But anyways, going back to the PC Geek, so I use Blue Iris. I have an NVR, and I pass through many GPUs to many different systems, but I've opted not to do it for Blue Iris, mainly because I don't have a video card to do it. But I found that the CPU that it requires to do it is pretty okay. So I don't know if you're using Blue Iris. I've opted to do software-based encoding, the H.264, which is going to use the CPU. And it runs just fine. And so, it's all about tuning too, right? It's all about tuning because like you could make your CPU hurt with Blue Iris. If you're like, yep, trigger on every event, trigger all cameras turn on, and then record. And then after they're done, convert all of that to an MP4 or whatever format you want and send that off somewhere else, that can make your CPU hurt. So, so it's all about tuning, but, I'd be happy to share my settings with you. It's pretty basic, but I didn't. Moral of the story is, I didn't opt to do hardware encoding for my NVR. But that's not your real problem. Your problem is passing through the GPU. So, man, that stinks when that happens. Remind me again what your motherboard is. I mean, this is your T710, right? So this is your it's basically like a 710. R710, but a tower, right? Which should be most of the same components, which I have. Actually, and sad story, I won't go too far off on a tangent, but I think I 100% decommissioned my 710 last night. Hey, MC Beckstar. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. How you doing? Sad story. Not too sad. I'll share it later on Twitter today, but yeah, I pulled all my SSDs out, pulled all my extra hardware out, went back to stock, and it's just sitting on my workbench, so gotta find something to do with that guy. Sell or repurpose. Haven't decided yet. SMN, that's a tough one. SMN handy. I'm not gonna go with that because I didn't pronounce it right. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. How you doing? Sly Human, can you share a diagram of your home network? Yeah, I think I can here in a little bit. I want to get to some questions first before I go on a huge tangent describing my home network. Most people will be like, wow, that guy, what is he doing? I'll probably get a lot of lessons on how to redesign my network. But yeah, it's fair. And Sly Human, if I don't get to it for some reason, because of comments and everyone wanting to talk, ping me in Discord and I'll draw a very crude diagram of how it works. And if you can't stay until I get to there, do that too. Just ping me in Discord, say, hey, can you share a diagram of your network? And I'll try to share it when I can. If I don't get to it, I'll try to though. Birmingham Sypho, hey, how's it going? Happy New Year to you too. The whole page was working for a bit. Sigor, hey, how's it going? It's always DNS. Yeah, I like to pass the blame. It was Twitch this time, for real this time. Not me blaming Twitch. It was really Twitch. Insert a clip of wife coming in. Hey, is the internet out? Yeah, totally. Is the internet down? Yeah, I'll probably get a knock here soon. Is the internet down? It's like, I hope not. PiHole, because it's always DNS. It certainly is. Home Lab New. PiHole went down for me for a couple of days ago. Well, at first I thought you said for a couple of days. I'm like, wow, were you just like typing in IP addresses to get to websites then? Yeah, I noticed, so I did upgrade to PiHole. I think they're on 5.3 now, and I noticed randomly one day one of my PiHole servers was just, all the services were stopped. The web admin worked, but PiHole itself was just like, the red status indicators. I'm like, this is kind of weird. It's never happened to me before too. Maybe it had something to do with the update. Who knows? Maybe it was some 2020 Y2 K21 or something. Who knows? Takano, man, how's it going? Good to see you, dude. Good to see you. Heyo, yeah. Flex 420. That damn PiHole. Always a pain in the arse. At least with my silly setup with one Raspberry Pi, you know. Hey, I've been there. That's how I started out on PiHole. I started out on a Pi Zero PiHole, and it was totally fine. You know what I mean? All it's doing is basically very lightweight networking stuff. But if you have it over wireless, obviously that's going to add some latency. But I had a Pi Zero hardwired with a micro USB cable in there, and it totally worked fine. Hey, Skate! Oh my gosh, Skatito Rabito gifted 5 subs, dude. Thank you so much, man. Man, this is so crazy. This is so crazy. Skatito Robito, dude. Thank you so much. 5 gifted subs. So. Zoe25, My Secure Gift, Aberon, Tizzy, and Draculente. Hey, thank Skatito Rabito for the gifted subs. Dude, thank you so much. Man, that's a lot. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. But yeah, going back to PiHole stuff, I ran it on a Pi Zero for a long time. Then I ran it on that Raspberry Pi right there that's running my LED screen. Oh my gosh. I can't tell if that's still going. Oh man. No, it's a new one. Anonymous gift, tier 1 sub. Oh my gosh. Anonymous gifted. Hey, thanks, Anonymous. Appreciate it. Thank you. And what is going on? Jahuga Booga. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support. Man, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Man, it won't stop. Nylan, thank you for the sub. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Man, you guys are awesome. Thank you. Those lights are probably going to flash for a while back there, and it's not a bug. It's because there's so much activity right now. And then C Codes, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Man, Link is he is spinning all day long. Anyways, thank you again. But what I was saying, and then for a while I ran it on that Raspberry Pi for a while, and it was totally fine. Then I moved it to Docker, and it's been 100% fine ever since. So yeah, I wouldn't be so down on just one Raspberry Pi. It's totally fine. You know, PiHole is pretty lightweight unless you're doing web administration stuff. Like unless you're in the UI just clicking around tons of stuff. For the most part, the job that is playing is pretty lightweight. Just name resolution, lots of networking, name resolution. Dang, W Cardi. Hey, thanks for the follow, or thanks for the sub. Wow, tier 1. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Welcome, man. You guys are blowing me up today. SM Hendy, hey Tim, great catch, first stream with you. Only found your channel over Christmas period. All right, Christmas projects, I like it. And some fantastic content there, thank you. Totally redoing my home labs, Office 365, hybrid in Azure, etc. Interesting, so hybrid cloud with Office 365, I like it. And I've never touched Docker before. Your content is exactly what I need to keep up the great work. Hey, thank you so much. You know, I'm not gonna lie. You know, a Docker at first is gonna be like what is even going on? You know, and I would recommend doing it from a terminal, maybe the first couple times, just to kind of understand. Okay, I created a Docker container and I instantiated this thing. Man, you guys are. Oh man, dude, Timmy AC. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. An anonymous cheerer, 100 bits. Dude, thanks for the 100 bits. An anonymous cheerer. Thank you guys so much. But what I was saying was, you know, try it in the terminal first. Spin up Docker. And if that's too hard, use Docker Desktop and do it in the UI and kind of figure out how that works. And then when you're feeling really brave, you can take on Kubernetes. I would recommend just kind of understanding how Docker works, especially like the basics. Okay, this is how I pull down an image. This is how I instantiate a container. This is how I get the logs from that container if something goes wrong. This is how I stop that container. Here's how I, remove that stopped container and see that stopped container, then remove that stopped container and start one back up. And then maybe do it in interactive mode or shell into it. And then after that, yeah, I think you can forget all that and use UIs to do it if you want. Or you can never totally use UIs for everything, because if you ever do any kind of CI or deployment like that, you're gonna go right back to doing terminal-based stuff. But anyways, yeah, awesome. Excited for you and your new projects, for real. Yeah, for sure. Ticano got some sad, bad news on. No one wants to hear. Father passed away, dudes. Ticano, man, so sorry, man. 28th, and his lungs not being able to sustain his internal oxygen level. Dude, sorry, man. I'm sorry to hear that. I've been wondering, a couple weeks ago when it happened, and you were saying, he was doing okay, and then it was on the uptick, on the down, and then the uptick, and then back down, and so, dude, Takano, so sorry to hear that your father passed away. That's tough, man. Yeah, my condolences and thoughts and prayers to you and your family, man. That's sad. I don't have much else to say. Let us know. If you need anything, we'll be here in Discord for sure, man. But yeah, apologize. T5150, did you get a new fridge? LOL. I didn't. I actually got the fan repaired. So I learned, so I think on last stream I was like, had to figure out stuff, and I did some like, I did some weird stuff. So anyways, like my fridge, I think last stream was having problems, and I was like, I gotta figure this out. I went outside and shoveled a whole bunch of snow into like all these pots and pans and threw it into the fridge, and that kept stuff okay cold. Not as cold as the fridge would be. Anyways, scheduled the repair. They came, I think, Tuesday, and fixed it. And I learned a lot about fridges. Like, it's pretty simple. My freezer just has these coils that get cold. I mean, a lot of people probably know this. I don't, because I've never opened up my fridge or touched it or even like thought about maybe kind of how it works. I thought maybe that the fridge part had coils too, but it doesn't. All it does is has a fan that blows that cold air from the freezer down into the fridge. And that's what went out. And so that's why my fridge was like kind of cold, but not really cold. But I was like, I don't hear any noises. Like usually when I open up the fridge, you hear a fan. Well, that's what went out. Anyways, that got fixed and it's all good now. We have cold stuff now. I made sure to eat up all of the stuff that was, likely to spoil, like, cottage cheese and all that stuff. I was just like, yep, can't let this spoil. Got to eat it up. But anyways, so yeah, it's okay now. For now. Takano, COVID is no joke. Wear a mask, guys. Yeah, for sure. I 100% agree. Can't said it better, man. Dude, apologies again, man. So sorry, man. Flex420, you're welcome. Green Mike. Heck Techno Tim. Hey, what's up? Takano, it's life. Got to keep moving and look for what happens in the future. For sure, man. Dude, for sure. Like I said, let us know if you need something in Discord, for sure. Green Mike, good day. Good day to you too. How's it going? Sorry for loss. Stay strong, buddy. Yeah, for sure, man. Dude, that's so terrible. I apologize. I don't know. I wish I could say it in a different way that wasn't just me repeating myself, but I really mean it. Vic, DK, love your videos. Trying to follow your Apache Guac tutorial. I'm having a problem. I can't get Docker to pull any image from Proxmox Ubuntu server VM. So I can't get Rancher set up, nor can I get the Osnu Guac image. Any tips would be appreciated. So let me think about this. So you're trying to just do a Docker pull on that image. Can't get the Docker pull to pull any image from the Proxmox server VM. So I can't get Rancher set up. No. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. Real quick, let me get caught up. Easton, dude, thanks for the bits. 200 bits, really appreciate it. Sorry, a little distracted. Thank you so much, really appreciate it. Mr. Connor D, thanks for the follow, appreciate it, welcome. If you can't do a Docker pull on anything in that virtual machine, something's obviously wrong. So I would take everything out of the mix and just SSH into that Ubuntu server and just do a Docker pull Nginx and see what happens. And see if it can pull, Nginx, at least pull the image down. And then if that works, then I would try the next step, which for me would be, okay, let's create a container. So I would run, Docker create Nginx, interactive or not, or as a daemon, whatever you want, and see if you can instantiate it that way. If all of that works, then it's something else in your infrastructure or within the configuration of if you're using Rancher. But I would try bare minimum. Take everything out of the equation except for Docker in that virtual machine and just run a Docker pull Nginx and see if it pulls the Nginx image down. And if that doesn't work, it's something with networking or something with that virtual machine, and try it on another one. Go to a different one, do it if Docker's installed, and try it. And if that doesn't work, try it on your local machine. You have Docker installed, do a Docker pull nginx, does that work? And if none of that works, then it's something in your network. Maybe the errors will give you a clue when you try to do a pull and take everything out of the equation. So hopefully that helps. PC Geek, sorry to hear. I always wear mine when I go out, and wife does too. Yeah, for sure. Always wear them. For sure. It's real. Pogmo Hole. Pogmo Hole. Thanks for the sub. Appreciate it. How you doing? Let's see. PC Geek, we always sanitize our hands too after being from the store and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Wash your hands. Docker Pepper. It's a Dosser, but a Docker Pepper. Trying to stand up a static IP for my Debian server. Awesome. Yeah, that should be. Yeah, you should have that in no time. I'm oversimplifying it, but yeah, hopefully you get it. Absinthe. This will be the year I learned Python for real. Yeah, I thought I hear that. It's super popular. I've said this quite a few times. I think it's gonna, if not already, replace a lot of the languages we use for at the operating system level. I mean, it's already replacing a lot of the languages you use elsewhere. But for Windows, Mac, Linux, doing any kind of administration or anything there, it's awesome. You know, it's why Ansible uses it. It's why a lot of people use it, because it's cross-platform and it's a modern language, scripting language. But yeah, I totally agree. I wrote my first Python, I don't know, maybe it was like 2 months ago, 3 months ago now, you know, and it's enjoyable. I mean, you know, I've done a ton of other languages. It's enjoyable. I still, you know, I'm still super basic on it. Mr. Connor D, hey, thanks for the sub, dude. Really appreciate it. But yeah, I'm still learning too. So hopefully you learn, and hopefully you can share your learnings with other people. I'm at the point now where it's like I don't fully understand just how to structure my project. And I don't know why I go back to that. And sometimes that's a non-starter for me, because I'm like, I don't want to start doing this the right way. And so when I wrote my first Python, I would just like spent way too much time on folder structure and how to do imports properly and how to get all my dependencies installed properly. And when I should have been focusing on the code I was writing, I was more focusing on like code infrastructure, I guess, and structuring. And yeah, I went down a rabbit hole. PyLinting, everything. So my advice to you is if you're gonna do it, spend a little time on that and spend more time on exploring the language and trying to accomplish the thing that you're trying to do in Python. And then after that, go back and revisit. And that's kind of where I'm at now. It's like, okay, now that I've spun up 2 projects on it, I should go back and revisit some of this stuff. But I'm sure it's highly opinionated. But at the end, most of the time, those opinions start getting adopted by lots of people or developers or by bigger organizations, and they start, you know, releasing their coding guidelines or style guides for code, and then people adopt that too. I mean, the same thing happened for, you know, React, Angular, like a lot of other libraries, not necessarily languages, but libraries. They were like, this is, well, I guess you could say languages too for style. So a lot of people started adopting those. Anyways, if you have any good references, yeah, drop them in chat. I'd love to see at some point, or throw them in Discord. But yeah, Takano for sure was caused by one person who came to our house knowing they were positive without telling us. Oh man, that's too bad. It's too bad. That's yeah, feels irresponsible. Sigor, hey Tim, just fine. She moving into my new house. Will hopefully get settled up and home lab soon. All right, yeah. Nice. Congratulations on moving. Just finished moving into my house. Yeah, congratulations on moving. That's awesome. You know, the few times I've moved, I've always made sure that I've had internet in the place the day that we get there, and that I can plug in and start spinning up stuff like right away, basically. I mean, a lot of my stuff even my stuff have here, I can lift and shift the whole entire thing and plug it in anywhere in the world that I have an internet connection, and everything will kind of react to it because I use dynamic DNS, I use, you know, tons of stuff. So, but yeah, that's awesome. It's a good feeling. Moving, or at least that you've already taken care of what I consider the annoying part is packing to move. So you've already moved. So yeah, congratulations. W. Cardi, hey Tim, how's it going? How are you? Takano. Along with that, they were also in contact with my aunt and uncle. My aunt and uncle. Sadly, my uncle passed away the next day, and my dad around 12 days later. Man, that's too bad, man. I'm so sorry. Ooh-wee, that's a lot, man. Hope you're okay. Silver, what up, Tim? Just got my Ubuntu Dual Boot all set up. How are you today? I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty good. Saturdays for me, I probably say this a lot, but you know they're kind of busy. I mean, it's quiet busy work for me, because that's usually when I release my new video and I got to do tons of other little tiny things. But yeah, just pretty good. I mean, I have some things in the backlog I want to take care of tonight. Like I was saying earlier, I decommissioned my Dell R710. It's been in my rack just in case. And so last night I totally ripped out all the hard drives, the SSDs that were in there, the drives that went back in there were already wiped. And so I went back to factory defaults and it's still just sitting on my workbench. So I have a few plans, but I don't know if I'm going to use that for it for sure. But dual boot, Ubuntu, nice. I'm assuming it's Windows, Ubuntu, dual boot. Sounds awesome. Sounds awesome. I miss dual booting. I used to all the time. I triple boot for a while too. It was kind of crazy to figure out the chain of bootloaders and everything, but it was fun while it lasted. I would love to, I wish I could totally go on Linux and then virtualize Windows and then pass through my hardware to Windows when I needed it with VFIO or something like that, because then it would be awesome. It would be awesome because then I could develop in real Linux instead of WSL all the time, and then only use the Windows apps that I need to. I want to flip it around. I want to flip it around for sure. But at the same time have access to both, and then not reboot, because that was kind of for me at the time. When I had to reboot it, was always just like, it just kind of messed up my flow. But yeah, sounds awesome. Oogie Powa. I have worked on remote desktops. You really have to try Parsec. Yeah, I hear a ton about Parsec. I haven't used Parsec. I hear a ton about it. I've seen it a ton too. I moved my gaming PC to the basement. Only 6 milliseconds delay. Nice. No more noise and heat in the living room. Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. Yeah, I got to figure out something with the noise too, because when I record, that my PC's right there, and that thing is, I mean, it's not loud until you record audio and you listen back, and you're like, that's actually pretty loud. And so I deal a lot with that. I'd love to get people's opinion on audio and how to like get rid of that noise. Maybe it's Parsec, but I have things physically plugged into it that I can't move in the basement. I would love to. I'd love to figure all that out. But I have things like microphones, Go XLR, all this stuff that needs to be physically connected. Maybe it doesn't need to be physically connected. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm just, maybe I can figure out a way to do it. Get some 100-footer XLR cables. I'm liking where this is going. And just throw it in my new infrastructure in my rack. That would be awesome. Hey, thanks for spending those points. Appreciate it. Thanks for earning them. And Life Pixel, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. How you doing? TBS backer. First time watching. The vibe is superb. Thanks. Currently working on migrating to a new Proxmox host and a new network layout. Awesome. It's awesome. It's like a fresh start. I went through that I think it was like 2 months ago now. It feels like not that long ago, but at the same time, it feels like a really long time ago when I got my one-use servers, and it was just like, it was a fresh start. And any time you do something for the second time, third time, fourth time, you've learned so much since the last time that you're like, yeah, now I can implement all of this stuff without breaking stuff, because there's nothing there to break because it's brand new. JMO, hey, thanks for the sub. Appreciate it. Tier 1. Thank you so much. JMO, thanks for the sub. But yeah, I envy you, because I love that fresh start. Half the reason why I used to wipe my Windows machine every now and then or build a new server, it's just having that fresh start and applying all the learnings you learned over the last, couple years, couple months to that new build. And you're just like, yeah, this one's going to be perfect this time. So yeah, awesome. Flex 420. watched many of your YouTube. Let me see. Watched many of your YouTube vids, and they helped me a lot. Hey, that's awesome. With my home setup, so I decided to have a look here too and subscribe right away. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. To a great 2021. I totally agree. Here's to 2021. So many new things that I'm looking forward to. But Anna, it still works. It still works. So that bot is 100% in my new Kubernetes infrastructure. So when the bot that's running this channel has always been in Kubernetes, but I've been slowly migrating some of my services over to a new Kubernetes cluster. How many Kubernetes clusters do I need? I don't know. But yeah, so my new one is the K3S one, and now I have about half of my services running in there. I don't know if you guys, anyone's in here, but on Discord the other day, I was getting some stuff configured, and I mentioned on Discord that I totally burned through my Let's Encrypt requests. So my piece of advice is if you're using Let's Encrypt, absolutely use their staging APIs until you're 100% for sure you're going to move to production certificates. And I was like, I got this. You know how many years I've been doing this? I got this. Like I'll go straight to production on the first try. I'll try to Jay-Z this thing, take it one shot, one try. It didn't work out so well. Well, actually it worked out perfect. So there's nothing wrong with my code. It worked and I got my certificates. I'm like, yeah, this is how you do it. And then at the same time, I was setting up Longhorn. So I had all these persistent volume claims and I'm like, yeah, get rid of them. Don't need them anymore. Well, every time I did that, traffic would go, I should just say Let's Encrypt. Let's Encrypt would go out and say, hey, I don't have a certificate file or a certs.json or whatever. It's a JSON file basically that has your certificate and your private keys and all that. And every time it'd spin up, it'd be like, I don't have this file. I need to go request it. And so I was just tearing down and building up my infrastructure over and over and over and over, just testing my certificates, testing, Longhorn storage. I'm like, this is great. And so I start cutting over some services and I'm like, why do I have this traffic certificate, self-signed one? And then I go and look in the logs and sure enough, Let's Encrypt is saying 429, too many requests. And I know what a 429 is from being a developer. It's basically that, too many requests. And, most of the time there's a back off policy. You're like, okay, I'll back off for, whatever. Second, you have some kind of incremental back off policy where you're like, I had too many requests, back off for 10 seconds, do it again. That didn't work, 20 seconds, and exponentially back off. Well, Let's Encrypt, there's no exponential back off. There's nothing like that. If you burn through your requests, you're dead in the water for a period of time. And that period of time depends on what you were trying to do. And for me, it was get new certificates for existing domains. And Let's Encrypt is like, we're not gonna play that game. If you're gonna keep requesting certificates for your own domain, we're gonna lock you out. And so that's what happened to me. So anyways, long story short, don't go to production Let's Encrypt until you're 100% ready with their production API, because I did it. And so now I'm locked out for a week. So that kind of burned my plans on the weekend. Like by today, I was already thinking about, yep, old Kubernetes cluster will be shut down, reclaim that disk space, wipe my hands, all done. No, now I have 5 more days to wait and before I can request those certificates again. Anyways, long story short, don't go to production until you're ready to go to production. And I know there's a meme floating around too of, I don't test my code, but when I do in production, that was kind of me. And I should have stayed on the staging endpoint until I was 100% ready to cut over. But I had to test. That was the tough part because I had to test. I had to say, okay, is traffic really going to do what it's supposed to do? And is Let's Encrypt going to do what it's supposed to do? And I don't want to flip over my services, if it's not going to do it. And it did do it. And that's when I should have just paused and switched back to staging. Anyways, long story short, yeah, don't go to Let's Encrypt production until you're ready. Let's see here. Evening, guys. How's everyone doing? Gunny, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. I'm Takano. Missed that. Thanks for all your condolences. We'll keep you guys updated but that's the news for now. Just trying to figure everything out. Dude, sorry again, man. We'll be here in Discord for sure. Mezige. This one's so hard to say. Mezel. I'm going with that. Mezizi. Bacon Hawk, dude. Thanks for the sub, Bacon Hawk. How's it going, man? Dude, thanks for the sub. Tier 1, 5 months, dude. Bacon Hawk, how's it going, man? Bacon Hawk is he's awesome, dude. He's moderator for Small Streamers Connect, which is another community that I'm a part of, and he's an awesome guy. Helps out quite a bit. Good man, dude. Hope you're doing good. Hopefully your new year is off to a good start. JMO, hello everybody. How's it going? Homeland New, hi. MT Bread, MT Bread. I like it. Oh no, I'm sorry. I missed. I'm gonna go with Zezzy. Zezzy. That's what I'm going with. New year, new me. All right, I like it. New year, new you. I love it. Moving away from Nextcloud. Okay. Trying to set up Libre Photos and Radicali. I don't know Radicali. I've heard of Libre Photos. I think it's like a Picasa competitor. I've seen it. I think I saw it on the self-hosted blog. But I don't. Wow, away from Nextcloud. Yeah, people are still trying to get to there. You're on the new stuff. MT Bread. I'm going with MT Bread. Mount Bread. Hey Tim, first time jumping in your stream. Love your YouTube videos. Sorry, I went fast over that. Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for being here. Instant 234. Pro tip. Run an IPAM tool to keep track of IPs of everything. Yeah, that's a good tip. I probably should do that too. Because my source of truth for my IPs is my DHCP. And I always have to go back to that to look into it. And it's not the, there aren't a ton of options for me to filter, to sort, to look. So yeah, that sounds like a great idea right there. PC Geek, I thought about installing that role in my Windows server. Is it nice? Yeah, I don't know. It's always DNS. Some handy. I'm going with that. Tim, I can look at your video on how to get multiple Docker containers which require same ports to work on the same Docker server. I'm looking at spinning up some containers with several ports which will need ports like 443. Yeah, great question. Let me get a drink. All right. Are you ready for this one? Okay, so the question is, how do I get, so you have multiple services that all need the same port. And so I'm going to explain maybe the obvious or maybe not so obvious. So first, obviously, or maybe not so obvious with Docker, you can change the port that you expose on the outside. You're probably past that, right? Because you want to expose 443 on all of them. So in order to do that now, you need to put a reverse proxy in front of it, something like Nginx or like Traffic, so that you can have 443 exposed once on that reverse proxy, and from there, incoming requests, that reverse proxy would inspect the host request and route that appropriately. So you're going to need to do a couple of things, and this is I have a video on it, and I don't want to just say, oh, go watch this video, because it's pretty complex. So if you're using a Rancher or Kubernetes, I typically choose Traffic for my reverse proxy for a lot of reasons. I won't go into them all. But for one of the reasons is because, one, I get a reverse proxy, and two, it can do SSL termination. Three, it can do SSL certificates, like it will get them from Let's Encrypt, what I was talking about just earlier. Just don't set your endpoint to production until you're really ready. And so it can do all of those things from that reverse proxy. And so that's kind of how I've been rolling. It's how I've rolled my new infrastructure now. So with Kubernetes, I end up spinning up MinLLB, which gives me a load balancer IP. And then in between, I should have my pencil right now. But in between there, I have Traffic running. And so then I forward all, 443 traffic to MinLLB. MinLLB then sends it to Traffic. Traffic then looks at the host request and says, hey, who are you requesting? Because I have a lot of people who want 443. Let me see who you're requesting. And then it will route the traffic from there. So in an example, is going to be a contrived example, but not as contrived as me waving my hands. You might have, let's say you have two websites. You know, you have two websites all on 443. I should totally draw this. And then you have a request coming in basically saying, hey, I want whatever. I want technotim.com. And that request comes in. Then traffic says, hey, you want technotim.com? I'm going to send you to this pod that has an ingress that says, I'm technotim.com. That's not my website, so don't go there. I have no idea what's there. And then you might have another request that's like, hey, I'm whatever, GoXLR. That's what I'm looking at right now. A request for GoXLR comes in on 443. Traffic will say, where do you want to go? And it will say goxlr.com. And so then it says, okay, I have a pod over here. I'll send you over here. And that's how it's done. And then, you know, if a request comes in for example.com, you know, it's going to come in, then LLB gets it, forwards it to traffic. Traffic's going to say example.com. There's nothing here. 404, right? And so that's kind of a high level of how it works. And that's all summarized in probably one of the most complicated videos I've ever done. And it's my traffic reverse proxy. I like it. Reverse proxy video. And super high level. I should probably draw these things out next time. I just don't have my pen to my Wacom tablet. But I could probably do it in Paint really easily too, but it might be more confusing. So anyways, moral of the story is you need a reverse proxy in front of there. Do you have to use traffic? No. You can use Nginx, you can use HA proxy, you can use anything you want, but you need a reverse proxy in front of there that can inspect, I think it's layer 7. I don't know. I'm not greatest at networking, but it needs to be able to do at least layer 7 so that it can inspect that traffic and say, who do you really want? Because I got a lot of people listening on 443 behind me. And so that's when it will inspect, I think, the host header and do a request from there. So anyways, moral of the story is reverse proxy. That'll be your friend. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, the takeaway is Google reverse proxy after this. And then you're going to be bombarded with stuff. Most people use Nginx. I use Nginx too for other things. So I use it inside of some of my pods to do a reverse proxy for some of my websites. And it's a really quick and dirty way to serve out a website of static files like a React app. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Snoopy, 82481, followed a few of your videos and realized my server is being bottlenecked by my hard drive. That's not good. Yeah, go SSD. Like it's easy for me to say, but it's SSDs are getting so cheap. And obviously you can't just go and replace your whole disk array or whatever your long-term storage or your slow-moving storage is with all SSDs. But everything else, it's so cheap. And it's so much more efficient as far as power is concerned that like I'm with the exception, I just realized this. So the only hard drives I have in my entire house that are spinning are in my disk array. Everything else is solid state. And that's just, you know, an investment I made over time where I'm like, okay, they're cheap now. I'm going to replace all these. So it's M.2 or SATA drives, all SSD. The same with my virtual environment, especially, I put SSDs in there before anything else because I'm like, this is shared storage for virtual machines. I need some high throughput. But yeah, I mean, that stinks. And I know it's always not, it might be cost prohibitive to do that, but you'd be surprised. Like I just picked up 1 terabyte ones for like less than $90, a 1 terabyte one. I was like, this is pretty good. Is it where it should be right now? No. They're all holding out, just raking us over the coals for solid states and still trying to, you know, price competitively with hard drives. But at the same time, price is coming down. Hopefully, hard drives will be a thing of the past in a couple of years because I'm tired of them. They're just big, loud, you know, relatively loud, lots of heat, relatively, and more power. So probably more dependable, arguably, but who knows? It's always DNS. Yeah. I'm assuming reverse proxy. Yeah, I should have scrolled down a little bit longer and you wouldn't have got the 10-minute version of reverse proxy, but exactly that. You need a reverse proxy in there to handle it so it can inspect those requests and route that traffic accordingly. Zoger DE. Hi, great videos. Can you maybe create a tutorial on how to forward storage from a USB stick to multiple LXC containers on Proxmox? Whoa, what are you trying to do? How to forward storage from a USB stick to multiple LXC container on Proxmox. Ooh, that's a lot. can you do multi-read write on a USB stick? Or storage in general? I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that question. If it's possible, I'm sure it's on the internet, but I've never tried it. And to be honest, I've never done like a multi-read write on like one individual disk either. It's always been, shared storage that then there's an abstraction of a drive over that, then that each virtual machine or container or whatever is running it has access to, but it, they create individual drives themselves. But man, that's sounds pretty complex. How big is this USB drive? I'm assuming it's either big or fast or it's 4 Pis. Well, no, LXC containers Proxmox, so it's not Raspberry Pis. W. Cardi, what are you using for internal DNS? Yeah, great question. I'm all in with PiHole now. I thought about other DNS solutions out there, but when I already had PiHole providing external DNS name resolution for me, and I saw that PiHole also supported local DNS, and now they support CNAMEs too. I was like, okay, like, hey, Midtown Sheen, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. That's where I was like, okay, like, is it a full-blown enterprise DNS, and do I get everything some other solution would give me? No. But is it a good enough solution that also does all of the other things that I want from, ad blocking, malware blocking, basically DNS blocking? Yeah. And so I was like, okay, how complex, how much do I want this to hurt? Like DNS already hurts me sometimes. It's something that like, it's the last thing I check, but it's the first thing to go wrong. So, I thought it was a good solution. Like I said, like there are some pitfalls, like you saw, like there's no easy way to sync 2 of them together. I mean, you can now with Gravity Sync, and that's what I use. And so I sync 2 together, and I have a primary and secondary DNS. So not true HA, but I have better availability for DNS across my whole entire network. But that's because they have, an A and B. And so that's what I use for now. And so it does great. It does great for that. So I create lots of local DNS records. And then with Gravity Sync, they sync to my other one. But, my first one's the source of truth. The second one is just the backup in case it goes down. And it's running great. And can't complain. I guess I don't know what I'm missing if I were to try something else. Because it does fits both of those bills pretty well. Let's see. IPAM consists of Excel spreadsheets. Whoops. Yeah. TBS backer. I totally agree. I used to be better at keeping track of my IPs, but now I always go back to the source of truth, which is whatever's doing my DHCP. Better have a better view, a decent view for my active leases, and have some kind of reporting and filtering and sorting, because I hate duplicating data, especially if it's like, okay, here's all my, I already duplicate data once, kind of, right? Because I have to make a DHCP reservation. And at the same time, then I probably have to create a DNS entry, a static DNS entry in my local DNS. So I already kind of duplicate that once, and I kind of don't like that. And so maybe if I had a better DNS system, I wouldn't have to do that. Or if they were more integrated with my DHCP, I wouldn't have to do that. But it's not for now. And so, and then having it in a third place is kind of like, whoa, unless it's all synchronized and doing it automatically. Yeah, I try to go back to the source of the truth, which is the system of record, which is, for me, DNS, it's PiHole. Snoopy 82481 just powered it all down and said F it until I get an SSD. Hey, now I didn't mean like, hey, you should go get an SSD, and if you can't get one, stop what you're doing. So I don't want you to just basically say like, oh, now I can't do this project. No, but it does make things a little bit easier, especially when you start having multiple machines accessing. You're not getting bottlenecked on read writes, and maybe it's just as simple as shutting some of those services down and relieving that pressure on that bottleneck for that hard drive. Maybe that's all it is, or maybe it's separating the spindles, right? If you have another hard drive, like I don't know what your infrastructure is and what you're trying to do. I'm assuming it's Docker and all of this stuff, but is that hard drive then shared with virtual machines too? And so maybe the solution real quick. Chris has what? How's it going? Thanks for the sub. 2 months. Appreciate it. Thanks for the support. Thank you. So what I was saying is maybe it's get another hard drive that you already have and say, okay, well, this hard drive's for virtual machines and this hard drive's only for Docker containers or something like that, and kind of break those tasks up so that there's not so much pressure on one drive. But if you're gonna wait for an SSD, I'm cool with that too. But I didn't mean to say like, hey, now this is a non-starter. Like, don't do this unless you have an SSD, because hard drives should work in general pretty well. It just depends on how much load you're putting on them, how much read write they're doing. Vic DK, love your videos, thank you. Trying to follow your Apache Guac tutorial. I'm having a problem and can't get Docker to pull any images. I think I already read this one, and I think I already answered it. I think I did, unless I magically scrolled up way too far. But I think my solution was, slowly peel back the layers of the onion, try Docker pull on that machine with something simple like Nginx, try it on another machine. Can't do it either of those places. It's not worth trying. It might be worth trying on your own machine to rule out your server infrastructure and go from there. Might be DNS. We'll know. We'll know. Instant. PHP IPAM, Windows Server IPAM, SolarWinds, Lansweeper, etc. I like it. I like all these solutions. I'll have to look into a couple of them that I'm not familiar with. But PHP IPAM, I'm not. I mean, I get it. It's probably a web view of it, but interesting for sure. Oh man, I got to get these acronyms down. I'm going to a SMINDY. That sounds good. I heard Proxmox kills SSDs when it runs from it. Is that BS? Yeah, I've always, let me make sure I'm truthful when I say this. I'll say mostly, as long as I can remember. I've always run, I snuck always in there. I can't remember running Proxmox on anything other than an SSD. Is it going to kill the SSD with lots of reads and writes? Maybe. I mean, if you don't over provision the drive, it could. I don't know what their recommendation is. I think it's to do it on ZFS and possibly not on an SSD. But the way I look at it is, and I said this even in my, I think about this all the time. People are like, why didn't you get enterprise drives? Like, those drives are going to die. And, the wear on those drives, I call vendors out on their warranty if I need to, right? Like, I don't think that any drive is going to last forever. I don't expect that any drive will last forever. And I treat all drives like they're going to die tomorrow, And so what do you do in that scenario? Regardless of what brand, enterprise or not, flash, hard drive, whatever it is, what do you do in that scenario? Well, you plan for it. You get 2, you put them in a RAID, or you get 3 or 4, or you back up your data more often than you don't. You keep your data in multiple places. Then you keep your data somewhere else outside of your home in multiple places, your home and somewhere else. And so, I kind of treat all my hard drives like that. And on wear, I don't even pay attention to wear at all, because to me, a wear isn't always a good sign that a drive's going to die. Good drive, I do pay attention to wear sometimes, only because it's cool to look at in Proxmox. My SSDs that have been running for almost 3 months straight now only have 1% wear on them. But that doesn't mean that any one drive is gonna die or not die tomorrow. And so, I always go back to, if you just take, some kind of precaution, put them in a RAID, get some better, availability, or some vendor, just a way to have continuity, because that's all a RAID's going to give you, a little more continuity and a little bit of buffer to then replace that drive. I think you're fine. And so I never look at wear. People are like, why didn't you get enterprise drives for your servers? It's because, you know what? These drives have a warranty for 5 years. If something goes wrong or it dies, I'm going to send it back, and the manufacturer is going to give me a brand new one. Like, why would I spend 3x the cost on an enterprise one when I get a 5-year warranty on this one? And then on top of all that, in 5 years, I don't even know if I'll have those SSDs anyway. I mean, what SSD were you using 5 years ago? What hard drive were you using 5 years ago? what video card were you using 5 years ago? You know, and so that's a long time. And most of the time you're not going to make it through the manufacturer's warranty. And if you do, the manufacturer has an obligation to replace that drive. Anyways, that's my spiel about why I still go consumer grade. It's because of all of that. So anyways, long story short, I wouldn't worry if Proxmox is going to add some additional wear to your SSDs. I mean, if you don't want any wear, just put them in a shelf and don't use them. I'm teasing, but you know, it's that idea that anything can die at any time. Nothing's guaranteed. And you know, what is it? Past events isn't a sign of future. I don't know. There's some saying there. But just because you only have 2% wear doesn't mean it's going to last you another 98% and vice versa. Just because, you know, you have 50% wear doesn't mean it's going to, you know, you're halfway through. Because it can die for any number of reasons. Anyways, I'll stop on that. But I would keep that in mind. And I get it that super high performing data centers and stuff like that, there's definitely need to buy enterprise grade stuff, and especially SSDs, and I totally get it. But for, you know, my use, I'm consumer all the way. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. It's hard to get rack mount gear that's consumer grade. It's starting to trickle through. We see it. But when it comes to storage, nah, consumer grade for me. I mean, but I'm not building high performing databases that are serving, you know, 100,000 users, you know, and building up my own, you know, cloud externally. And I'm definitely not playing down, you know, the need for those, or the application, for that type of hardware. Just like home use and Proxmox read writes, no way. Consumer for me, all the way. I've run it on a single one too at some point, just because I was like, you know, I can't afford, and I don't have the space in my server to have 2 SSDs for Proxmox. And a lot of my data, the data in there is backed up in so many ways that I've run it single SSD before. Anyways, I don't want to sound like I'm preaching. Just sharing my opinion. Snoopy. I would like to see a Minecraft Bedrock server in Kubernetes. I couldn't get it running last night. Hey, I appreciate that. It's funny. One of the few workloads I have to migrate, one of them is my Minecraft server. So maybe I'll take a look at that at the same time, because I hear this come up a lot about Docker, and I don't know if it's a Docker thing. I don't run Bedrock myself. But I'll look into it for sure, because that sounds pretty cool too. Zoker, DE, yes, it's for Germany. All right, I'm way behind. Oh my gosh, DE. Okay, I'm getting there. I'm W Cardi, Smindy. That's BS. I'm using it at work, and I've had a hypervisor using SSDs. All right, that's what I'm talking about. PC Geek, I plan on using Blue Iris and AI detection engine to trigger recording. The video comes in the cameras already as H.264, so it would just be capturing it. All right, so yeah, I mean, but the only other piece to that is that then if you like save that video somewhere else, so it's something I do is create a 10-second clip, ship it off somewhere else, so that if someone, you know, stole that server that it was on, I'd still have a couple clips of them at least coming in. So anyways, that would require some transcoding or encoding too. But yeah, totally. Try it with just CPU. You'd be surprised. Thunderstorm 91.99. Hey, thanks for the follow. Thanks for the sub, dude. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. How's it going? Welcome, Zippy. I don't think I called out Zippy. Zippy 404. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. How many Germans are there in here, Zoker DE? At least 3, if I read it right. Yeah. Instant death to the R710. Sold mine half a year ago. Yeah, it's bittersweet. Like, I love that machine, and I still do. Like, it was my first rack mount server. It's still here. It's on my workbench though. It's no longer in my rack. You know, I keep trying to convince myself to do something with it, and I thought like, oh, maybe I'll use it for like a week straight and batch convert like all my videos that I need to and compress them down like my raw storage so that I can free up some storage and at the same time put some use to it. But I might use my WinUse for that. But yeah, It's sad. Give me a project to do with it. I'm all for it. I'm all for it as long as it's not running 24/7. That's the one thing I realized too is, man, they kind of use more power than I thought, for sure, and give off a little more heat than I thought too. Greetings from Germany. All right, Germans waving from Sweden. Vic DK. I think I read that one already. So you might have posted it a couple of times. I don't know. I'm getting through here. Instant, as you can see, I can be tapped if you need a pro diagrammer. All right, I do need some time because mine are not pro. Mine are usually Paint and sometimes Photoshop. In Faust, hi, I'd watch more often, but it's 6:30 in Japan. Kind of hard to keep up. In Ink Faust, hey, thanks, welcome from Japan. It's 6:30, so konnichiwa. Hopefully you're doing okay. Well, yeah. Maybe my. So, yeah, you're right, because it's 14-hour difference. So it is 6:30ish in Japan right now. Well, hey, I'm glad you're here. Maybe my weekday one would be better, because that would be what, 7 Central would be 9 a.m. in Japan. So, man, thanks for tuning in from Japan. Appreciate it so much. Oh, so many comments. I'm catching up. I'm catching up for sure. Flex 420, I will switch to Docker and container soon. I'm just not much time at the moment. I hear you. You can only do so much, right? So you got to prioritize your projects. And sometimes making the huge switch to Docker is a lot. It's a lot to do. It's a lot to think about. There are a lot of considerations to take it, to take into account before you make the switch, from VMs to Docker. If you end up deciding to do that, there's a lot to plan and a lot to figure out. But once you get it, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Geek Masher, hey, love the content. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Oogie Power. I use 710 for pfSense and Unified control only. Maybe overkill. Oh man, how many cores you got in that thing? 24? Yeah, I love it. Only for pfSense and controlling. You can add so much more of that. That's the one thing about the R710s. They are more than capable to do a lot of the things. I had so many virtual machines and everything running in there. Basically, I had all of my infrastructure running inside that one server, like no problem. I probably had 10, virtual machines, all, moderately. Most of them didn't have a lot to do, like most Linux machines and all services that you run. Not terribly busy. And then there were a few Windows machines that did, I had Blue Iris in there. I had some other transcoding going on in there, which I offloaded to my GPU. But man, I'm still so impressed with how versatile the R710 is, for sure. Monsieur B, hey, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Welcome. And Bad Moon Rising, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. And Carlix, thanks for following, appreciate it. Welcome, how you doing? Thanks for the Skeeto. Oh, what did we get? A new emoji? Twitch bits reward. Oh man, we got so many emojis. Thank you guys so much. MT Bread, got some subscriber hype going on right now. A fun way to start the new year for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Vic, I already answered your question. I think you posted it like 5 times, but I think I already answered it. Nyland, VS Code has a nice plugin for Docker that helps you learning Docker. You can click through and inspect and exec into the container. Yeah, they do. They certainly do. A lot of the extensions and plugins in VS Code are fantastic. But yeah, they have a Docker one. You're absolutely right. And you can exec into that Docker container to learn. So absolutely a great way to learn. I believe it's Osnu, not Onzu. Yeah, it is. And in my video, I accidentally said Onzu, and then I kind of nailed it in and cemented it in. And now when I have to think like twice, and I just have to say, it's Osnu, not Onzu. Empty Bread, Kubernetes has been my bane for the last week or so. Every time I try to do something, I'm reminded on how little I know. No, hey, I'm right there with you. Same thing. I'm right there with you. I mean, even in Rancher stuff. I mean, I struggled this past week. Some of the things I did this week that you don't see, I struggled with. And so it's okay to struggle with those things. I did myself. Like I was like, I have no idea what is going on or how I'm going to fix it. And I have many moments like that with Kubernetes. So you're not alone. you know, and especially if it's not your day job and if it's new, yeah, absolutely don't feel bad for that. Because like I said, like even this week when I was moving my infrastructure, moving around Rancher, and then redoing everything, and then getting traffic to running on K3S and Rancher, I was like, I have no idea what I am doing. What am I supposed to be doing? Someone tell me what to type, because I have no clue. And so don't feel bad. And I you know, my infrastructure is a little more complex. Well, I'm making it a little more complex. I'm having internal, external load balancers. But what I'm glad that it happened. Like, I'm glad that I hit a brick wall like 3 times this week, because what that allowed me to do is hone in on how to debug Kubernetes a little bit better. You know, when I didn't have someone to, you know, tell me what to type, air quotes, I had to figure it out myself. And I'm always, you know, in that moment, I'm so frustrated that I'm just like, I wish someone would tell me what to type. Internet, someone tell me what to type, because I have no idea. But those are the moments where I think I start to learn the most, because I don't have any help. I only have myself, and I've got to figure it out. And so in those moments, I always go back to the basics. Okay, kube control, get pods. Okay, get all of my services. Okay, this service is up. One pod's running. Okay, that's running okay. This pod didn't start. I have no idea. And there's no logs. Okay, I have no idea why. Kube control describe pod. Oh, I can see the Kubernetes events. Oh, it can't grab a persistent volume claim. Oh, I didn't set the permissions properly. And so, you know, in those moments, I totally understand how easy it is to get down, but afterwards, I'm thankful they happen, because I learn a lot more about debugging. And, you know, happy paths, all fine and good. But, you know, when you have the unhappy path, when something goes wrong, that's where I start to learn the most, especially if I'm by myself and I'm forced to do it myself. Hey, Subi X, thanks for the follow, appreciate it, welcome. Aaron Girl Dev, hey, thanks for the follow, appreciate it, welcome. Orient, thanks for the follow, appreciate it, welcome. Lots of follows, thank you, lots of new people, thank you so much for being here. Zoid, that's probably why I can't find the image. All right, Flex420, what do you think about Portainer to have all the log stuff and controls under one hood? Any good alternative for this? And if it's bad, Flex420. I mean, so Portainer, so I still use Portainer. So a lot of people ask, like, hey, Rancher, Portainer, they like to figure out what's better. And so I'll say right out of the gate that I use both. And the reason why I use both is because sometimes I need Kubernetes and sometimes I don't. And it's the same choice or trade-offs or decisions that everyone has to make. Sometimes I have to virtualize something, sometimes I have to containerize something, and sometimes I just have to throw it in Kubernetes. So if I'm not going to put something in Kubernetes and I want Docker only, you know, I use Docker commands. I barely use Swarm, or I'm sorry, not Swarm, Compose. I usually do it plain old Docker way. And then sometimes, for me, it's easier to manage that with a UI. And so I do use Portainer, and Portainer for me is my UI for Docker, so I can just get to it from the web. So if it's like real quick, something's not working, I know that I can go to a web page on my phone or anywhere and look and see what the status is. And in there, you know, you have logs too and stuff like that. And so anyways, long story short, you know, what do I think about Portainer having all those logs? Well, really all it's listening to is standard out, standard error, standard out. And, you know, putting those in a web view for you. So your containers are doing those same things. So do I think it's bad that Portainer is able to look at those, collect those? No, because the containers are doing it anyways. And if someone had access to my, you know, if someone had access to that UI, I mean, granted, you know, a little less, you know, security than being able to SSH in and do a Docker logs, you know, obviously a little less secure there, but I treat it like any other internal website that has access to sensitive stuff here, you know, protect it with a good password and SSL. So, but am I concerned about Portainer itself being able to see those logs and present those logs? Not really, because you know, because Kubernetes doing that too for me, for Rancher. You know, it's doing that same thing, collecting those logs or listening to those logs in standard out or standard error and presenting them to me. And if someone got access to my Kubernetes, you know, or Rancher and was able to look at those logs, yeah, it'd probably not be great. But at the same time, you know, I wouldn't pipe out sensitive information to those logs anyways. Hopefully that answers your question. W. Cardi, watched your video on Longhorn this morning. I've been using it in my home lab for a while now. Awesome. W. Cardi, what do you think about it? Yeah, I've you know, had it now for, I'd say, a week. And I keep flip-flopping on some stuff. Yeah, I've had it for a week. I think it's the missing piece for my infrastructure for Kubernetes. Because before this, it was like it's so hard to do storage in Kubernetes because like, one, I don't have a storage class. I mean, yeah, I could use an NFS storage class and then tell every, you know, and then create a persistent volume claim for all of my nodes to then say go to my NFS, which is totally fine. It would totally work. But then, like, if my NFS mount goes down, all of my containers go down. And that's where I was kind of like, okay, if I'm building this new infrastructure, I don't want to have to worry about rebooting TrueNAS, right? That does my NFS. I don't want to have to worry about rebooting TrueNAS or rebooting any one individual piece of thing. I want my infrastructure to still run. That was part of the reason why I started breaking stuff up too. And so when I found Longhorn and started looking to it, I was like, this is pretty cool because, I mean, do I have an endless supply of storage? No, you know, like I kind of do in my TrueNAS with NFS. I mean, virtually endless. You know, I can add storage to it, right? But in Longhorn, it was appealing to me because the storage is within the cluster. I get a storage class, so I can provision a persistent volume claim, either from the UI or from the container itself or from kube control. Pretty cool. And then now all new pods, when they need persistent volume, it automatically creates, because I set it as my default. You know, the downsides are, you know, I have 4 nodes dedicated to it. Could get by with 3, probably 2. You know, and all 4 of those nodes now have that data replicated across it, you know, which is okay. There's whatever, 320 gigs. Obviously, it's not using it all, or however much storage you allocate to those nodes. Now it's replicated across 3 or 4 nodes, and so there's a hit on storage. But the way I look at it for me is it gives me availability, so that if I take any one of those, any 2 or 3 or 3 of those storage nodes down, it's totally gonna run fine. Will there be some hiccups? Maybe. But I don't have to worry about when I take my NFS server down. Let's say I had to do, you know, a TrueNAS upgrade, and TrueNAS Core released some new update, 12.1. I'm making this up. But they released 12.1 and I'm like, cool. Yeah, I'm going to apply this update. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's going to reboot when it's done. Well, if that happens, then that share is gone from all of my Kubernetes servers because my NFS storage class, or my storage class is set to NFS, which is then TrueNAS. Now all those pods are freaking out. They're like, I don't have any storage, and they're going to go crazy, as anyone would do if you pulled the rug out from under them. So anyways, long story short, I think it's awesome. You know, I'm still wrapping my head around it, but that's the problem it solved for me. Was now I get persistent volume claims, and I get to, you know, any one of those nodes can be down. I can request storage so easily, and you know, I don't have to worry about one single point of failure anymore, which I was kind of doing before, which was NFS. And so, but yeah, I mean, my infrastructure is different from a lot of people's, but I try to model mine in, you know, a kind of I don't know, somewhat redundant way, because I'm tired of, you know, is the internet down? I'm tired, you know, I'm tired of that question, and that's not pointed at my wife or anyone, you know, that uses my services. It's pointed at me, and it's like, okay, if people notice that, that's because I haven't considered something. And so I just want to make sure in my new infrastructure for 2021 that I made, you know, reasonable considerations. And so I think that choosing Longhorn for me and having that storage floating around within my infrastructure to where I can take any 3 of the 4 nodes down and things are still fine, That sounds like a good bet for me. I'm using a lot of SSD space for that. I'll figure that out later, right? Famous last words. Hey, Gruas. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Holy Merc, my condolencias. Techno, yeah, for sure. Hey, thank you. Not much to say. I feel like am I in? No, not double comments. Here we go. Hey, thank you. Not much to say. Just thought you guys deserved an update for your situation. Yeah, Techno, dude. Yeah, so sorry, man. Vic, that's not because it won't pull any image. Oh, you're following up to him? All right, let's see here. JMO, so last time I was able to catch one of your streams, I had a problem with Rancher not spinning up. I jumped in your Discord, and I'm so thankful for you and your awesome community. Then I got into the home self-hosting thing, and it's crazy because of you guys. So thanks again, and thanks to others to help me. Hey, yeah, thank you so much. One, for getting here. I assume you got here from YouTube, so thanks for joining. Two, thanks for joining the Discord. I know that's another hop. Now we got one hop from YouTube to Twitch to then Discord. So I appreciate you getting there. And yeah, absolutely, I echo your sentiment that we have some of the best people in our Discord. Everyone's so nice, so willing to help. You know, judgment free. Everybody starts somewhere, and so I echo that sentiment wholeheartedly because we have a lot of great folks in there, and I can't think of enough. My answers are mediocre at best, like my code, but we have a lot of people who go really deep on a lot of technology that I'm not familiar with. And so I think we have, I totally agree with that sentiment. We have a great group of people, well-rounded, lots of perspectives in there. So yeah, I totally agree. So thanks for saying that. Thank you. And thank you everyone for being in the Discord. It's super awesome. It's like, I don't want to say rubber duck debugging, you know, but it's not that, because it's real people. But at the same time, if I'm ever stumped, if I'm ever stuck like I was earlier this week, you know, I don't go there to vent. I try not to, but I can just say, yeah, having this problem, and you know, I get some ideas back. It's pretty awesome to have that, because you know, I've said this many times, but most of this stuff that I'm doing here at home, you know, I've been doing it for a long time, and I've never had that to where I can say, you know what, I'm trying this on PiHole, or I'm trying this, or whatever. I have this Ubuntu server and I need to do a mount or whatever, and have, you know, just someone to be able to bounce those ideas off of, other than Google. So it's really great. And so I'm probably gonna get all sentimental, but I totally agree. It's great. And so thank you for coming in and saying that. I appreciate it. It's always DNS. It certainly is. Zoid, yikes, sound like you have some connection issues. What Tim said sounds like great advice. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate if you have anything to add on to that about his Docker poll, but Docker poll Nginx. You can tell that, I mean, I always go to Nginx. That's my go-to Docker image because I know it's tiny. I know it's mostly going to work. And I know that it's going to serve out port 80 when it stands up. So I can go right to Chrome and, you know, say localhost 80 and it should work. So that's my always Docker, or yeah, Nginx is my go-to test container because it's for all those reasons. Pogmohole, hey, been loving your YouTube vids. Thanks, appreciate it. Thanks for stopping in. Vic, I tried to pull Rancher, and it just times out. Hey, we're getting a little bit further, so it might be DNS. I mean, if you're doing Rancher/Rancher, that's still coming from Docker, but that comes from Docker Hub. Maybe try doing NS lookup on hub.docker.com. I forget what the registry is, but look up whatever the Docker registry is, or Rancher should have that full URL. If you go to Docker Hub, I think it'll say the full URL to the registry, and just try doing an NS lookup there. It might be DNS. It might be. Chalk one up for DNS. Mr. Connor D would love to see a video on your Hue light setup with the scripts you're using for your stream. Hey, thanks. Yeah, maybe. It's funny, I was thinking about this earlier today. Actually, when I was in the shower, kind of weird. It was getting really weird, but anyways, I was just thinking, like, I told someone a while ago that I would post some of my code on the Philips Hue stuff, and I'll do it this weekend. Is it gonna be a full-fledged code repo of how to wire it up to Twitch? No. But it'll be a working demo enough for you, if you have a Philips Hue, to connect to your Hue hub. And then from there, be able to change the scenes in here, which is what you guys are doing with the channel points and the scenes selected below. So yeah, I owe it to you. I'll put it in my list, but I better write this down. Let me at least partially write an H, because then I'll know what I was talking about. Q, that's enough. But yeah, I'll post my code somewhere. But it's pretty simple, written in Node. There's an API out there that allows you to discover your device. Yeah, speaking of points and redeeming them, thank you. But there's an API, there's a Node module or library that allows you to discover your Hue hub. From there, once you discover your Hue hub, you have to run like a mad person down to your Hue or do it really close to there, because you have to press that button within I think 10 seconds, which is totally fine if it's right next to you. But if it's in the basement and your dev station's here, it's a fast run. I've actually had to remote back into this machine to execute the code to then push the button in my basement anyways. Then it'll give you a token back, and then you can use that token that you get from the Philips Hue hub to then do whatever you want with the lights. So for me, when someone changes the scene, I say all the lights in here fade out, and then all the lights in here change to that scene. And so the scenes you see named in the channel points below are the same scenes that I have set up in Philips Hue. Same exact name, because I was like, I don't want to don't want to do any string matching, anything like that. So that's all that happens. And then obviously I Twitch and all. That's a whole different story. But the cool thing is, if you wanted to program your lights and do things with your lights at home based on different events, say if it's gonna rain, make it, whatever, set the rain scene. You could totally do that, and then put it in a Docker container, whatever you want. But yeah, I'll share at least part of it that will get you 90% of the way there. The rest is going to be up to you, and that's deciding. It's basically like building your own if this then that, right? So I'll give you the that. You have to do the if this. I'll give you then that, which is then change all of my lights to a scene, but you have to decide on the if part. If this, if a Twitch sub, if it's gonna rain, if it's 10 o'clock at night, that'll be up to you. But yeah, I'll post it for sure. PC Geek, he has a video set up on the Broadlink device. Yeah, I do too. Yeah, and that's controlling the other LED lights below. But yeah, that's a good point. I also control these LED panel lights that are infrared with a Broadlink, and those are like floodlights down behind the couch that you can barely see, but they're there. Swedish. Oh, sorry, missed one. Empty bread. Yes, the whole structuring before he starts definitely tough. Definitely struggle with that as well. Yeah, I do too. I'm always just like, oh, what's the best way to do this? And I just keep adding more and more stuff before I can really get started on what I need to do. Swedish. What's the best language for a REST API for a small, medium-ish project? That's gonna be whatever you're most familiar with. For me, if I was to spin up a new REST API right now, I do Node.js, maybe in TypeScript, but probably in plain old JavaScript, ES6. I would use Node.js because it's already web-based, it's super easy, and in 10 lines of code, you could probably have a web server. That is an API, right? It's going to serve something out on some port. But then Python is also a good one too. So I wrote an API in Python with Flask. And I still haven't totally wrapped my head around it, but I get it. So I wrote an API in that, and that's probably like 5 lines of code. It's pretty small to be able to get something done in Python. So I've done that. Go is one that people tend to choose too, but I've written one in Go. I think like once. I've done like 2 things in Go, but for me it's great at what it does. I'm sure lots of people write super high performing APIs in it too, but I haven't done enough in it. So if I were to choose, me personally, if you said, hey, make a API right now, choose your code, I would go JavaScript and I would pull in Express and I'd have an API real quick. Or there's probably lighter weight stuff than Express, but yeah. Python and Fast API, I like it. Python is great for REST API. All right, yeah, because I think Flask is what people end up using. At least that's what I did, and I thought it was pretty enjoyable. I really have to check it out. Thank you. Takano wife, can you please set up the fridge? The food is going to spoil. Techno Tim, I have to get the servers up. Yeah. No, I took care of that one. I was like, I pulled in some ingenuity too, where I was like, we don't have any more ice. Where can I get ice? And I was like, oh yeah, it's snowing out. I'm just gonna fill up these huge pots with snow, and it got us by. PC Geek, have you tried running X Windows, Tim? It lets you connect to Linux server to run Linux apps on Windows. It's kind of like Citrix. I haven't. Not that I can recall. I mean, I'm familiar with Citrix and X Windows stuff before. Maybe. I can't remember. I've done similar stuff before where it basically uses Xorg and creates a fake adapter and then we'll display it locally. I don't know. I'd have to remember. I know there's one or two things that I've done something similar on before, but I can't recall. But no, that's it's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Like a thin app through Citrix. Oh man, that was back in the day. Techno, any new perks for channel points? Not yet. Not yet. Not for channel points. I have those 4 scenes or 3 scenes, same perks. I need to design a new scene. Maybe that's what I'll do. But I'll find something else too, for sure. Because you've toggled the lights at least 1,000 times. You've burned through 100,000 points, I bet. Redo Strike. I have done it with SSH and X forwarding and Xming. Okay. Yeah. Takano. One to get. Techno Tim in trouble. You can have one that costs 100k channel points and then it restarts the PiHole service. Woof. Oh, I like where you're going with this one. Because I could totally have a channel point that would introduce some pain into my environment. Like basically a chaos monkey. 100k channel point chaos monkey that rebooted PiHole. That would not be good. And not just for me, for everything in my infrastructure. That one's a little bit, I don't know if I'll go there, but I like where you're going. I like the chaos monkey mentality though, to introduce something into my environment to what I'll have to react to. But man, doing that during a live stream is kind of crazy too, because I mean, depending on what it is, could cause a lot of ruckus. Oh my Takano, that would cause one heck of a mess for him. Yeah, I totally agree. Robrew, let me grab a drink. Robrew asks, Linux or Windows as a daily driver? Huh. This one's tough. And it comes up a lot. I mean, depends on what you're trying to do. And I'm going to be 100% like honest and pragmatic with this one. Like I for the most part, I try to use the best tool for the job. And that's not to say that one operating system is better than the other, or that, I'm a Windows person or a Linux person or a Mac person, because I run all 3. I have all 3 right here. Most of the time I have to pick a tool, or I have to pick an OS based on a tool that I use. And maybe it's not the best tool for the job, but it is if that tool only exists on that platform. So for me, I would ask you, Robrew, like what are your tasks? What are your daily tasks? What does it look like when you get on a computer? I won't even say PC. What does it look like when you compute? Are you writing code? Are you doing DevOps stuff? Are you creating stuff? Are you creating rendering stuff? Are you doing anything creative? Are you doing live streaming? Are you playing games? Like all of those things you have to take into consideration when you start choosing a platform. And so for me, I could probably do, especially my work stuff, I could probably do 99% of my stuff on Linux. There's a 1% is probably not enough, but I do develop mobile apps too. And so at some point I need Xcode on my machine. So it kind of forces me to use a Mac because, when I need to make updates and releases to my iOS app, I have to do it on a Mac. There's no way around it. Unless I use some external build system and have someone else build it for me, but I can't do that when I'm debugging stuff locally. So anyways, I would just go back to you and ask you, what do you do in your daily driving? And then from there, you can probably pick and choose. I would say like, use what works best for you. And I say that a lot. I say that with a lot of things in general. But for me, like right now, I'm kind of forced to use Windows for the stream. And I know that OBS exists on Linux, but I have a NVIDIA video card with NVENC and a Go XLR and an XLR mic and all kinds of stuff here. So there's times when I have to choose Windows and then times when I have to choose Linux and then times when I have to choose Mac. So anyways, Yeah, let me know. What do you do in your daily driving so I can recommend a daily driver? But I'm sure you've already picked one. Chicano wife would be coming in every stream with devil horns. Yeah. Oh, she's not. No, she's a saint. No, she wouldn't really. I doubt she would even knock. She would wait until it was over. She's that nice. Use Linux. All right, I like it. I like where we're going. Me as well. I mean, you know, I've answered this question a lot of times because people ask what me personally, what I do for daily driver. It's like daytime is Mac, nighttime is Windows, all the time is Linux. And because during my day job, I use the Mac for development. My night job, which is all of this stuff you see and more, which I use Windows because I just have way too much hardware that I need to actually use. And then Linux all the time because all of my infrastructure down there is Linux based. So I'm all three. Like, I'm all three. Let's see, Redo Strike. Oh, it's been ages. I did that though. Timbit. You can always delete your service account to regenerate a new one and get fresh limits. I think we're talking about Let's Encrypt. I'd love to know more about that. Maybe it is. Trabascas had a similar issue with traffic. My dumbass did not realize I was not creating a volume for search, so it actually issued a new one every time the container restarted. Same thing. That's exactly what I did, but I was destroying the container. Yeah, and so now I'm stuck because I fortunately my old infrastructure still has the old cert. But the old cert isn't the same host as the. It's complicated. Fortunately, I had my old infrastructure, so I'm like, okay, I'm still routing the traffic to old infrastructure until this one starts working again. Redo Strike. Be sure to have X11 forwarding yes in your SSD config. Nice. Green Mike. What's the next cloud replacement then? Thinking of Operation Tulip and such. I don't know what a Nextcloud replacement is. I mean, it would be breaking all of those services or capabilities out into individual things. I think someone recommended earlier the Libre Photos to just get the photo piece and that might have been you, Green Mike, to get the photo piece that you were getting in Nextcloud. So I don't know of an alternative that does all of it. You know, I mean, there are NASs and stuff that kind of do some of this stuff too, but I don't know one off the top of my head. I know there was OwnCloud, and then that got forked into Nextcloud, and that seems to be what a lot of people are using now too. 08 Max 07. Can you recommend a self-hosted app to keep track of projects and goals? This one's tough. So project management, I'll look. Yeah, because this one's tough. Projects and goals. I don't know one off the top of my head. I don't know one, to be honest. You know, most of the projects I work on, I use a Scrum board for, and so I don't have like a good solution for long-term like goals. Most of it's like what I want to accomplish in this next sprint or unit of work or this week. And so and it's not open source. I still use Trello for that because it's dead simple. But I'll look. I'm sure a lot of people have recommendations though too, for sure. Thunderstorm. I've tried multiple different VARs. Become run as a specific user, and I'll be sure and do that. I believe that it's no. Thanks for the suggestion. Hey, Devil Shoots Devil. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. 5-minute coding. Happy New Year. How do you find your new topics for your YouTube channel? Yeah, this one kind of comes up a lot. Hey, Stellis has resub 2 months. Thank you, Tim. Got my Plex Docker running hardware transcoding through Proxmox. Thanks so much for your videos. Hey, appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming in, for subscribing, and for letting me know. Well, tier 1, 2 months, so it's resub. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And glad you got Plex and hardware transcoding working. That's always a good feeling when you get it going and you go into the section of your connected clients and you see the little hardware transcoding bubble next to it. You're like, yes, it's working. But glad you got it going. Awesome. So I assume you're passing through your GPU then to that virtual machine, which then that virtual machine you're exposing the pass-through GPU through and using that NVIDIA container to then get it to that Plex container, which is a crazy rabbit hole to go down. But once you get it, it's pretty cool. I wish I could do more hardware transcoding or take advantage of my GPU and more Docker containers. But most of the stuff is headless, so it's kind of like, oh gosh, why? Like, people should break stuff up so that I can do it. So I can do some more. I can take advantage of that GPU a little bit more than I am now. But glad you got it working. Thank you so much for resubbing and for saying it. So how do I find topics for my YouTube channel? This one's tough. Most of the time, it's stuff I'm doing anyways. It's stuff I'm doing anyways. It's stuff that I want to do. I mean, so I have a list, a backlog of things that I'm interested in doing, and then that list sometimes I add in things that I'm currently doing or I have to do this week. It's kind of weird because it's like a lot of it is the actual project that I'm doing, and I'm like, I'm just gonna record this and turn it into a tutorial, which makes it it's kind of 2 for 1, but at the same time, I can't get too far ahead in some of my infrastructure. Like I do definitely have 2 different environments. I have more than 2 environments here. And so a lot of the stuff you see is just demo stuff, but at the same time, I try to keep that in sync with a lot of my home production stuff. So I can't get too far ahead, so I gotta pace myself. But most of the time, yeah, it's things I've wanted to do. I get an idea, I put it on a list. Next up, it's things I'm going to do. That's why, you know, I have a lot of Rancher stuff. Is it because I love Rancher? No, I mean, I do like it quite a bit. But it's, you know, I'm gonna spin up whatever Longhorn this weekend, so I'm gonna record it and make a tutorial on it. And then there's stuff suggested by people. I mean, people suggest stuff in Discord, on Twitter, or ask me questions. You know, people ask questions about certain things, and I'm like, you know what? I'd like to know more about that. And then a lot of the times I have to decide, okay, is this just to do it, or is this something that I'm really gonna use? And so that's, you know, I have a scale, and so if it's weighted more towards things I'm really going to use, then yeah, I'll most likely do it. If it's just because, like, hey, it's popular and, you know, maybe someone hasn't created something on it yet, I'm kind of like, I don't know. So anyways, it comes from all different places, but most of the time it's what I'm going to do, what I did last weekend. Most of the time, every video, if you look at it, you're like, oh, that's what Tim was doing last weekend, you know, and this one that came out today, same idea. Zezzy, I found Nextcloud too bloated for my usage. I use it for calendar, so Radical and PhotoSync. Nice. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is. I mean, if you're only going to use it for calendar and you're only going to use, you know, certain pieces, it's pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy stuff. They have the mail client hooked into there, but it's not a mail server. It's only a mail client that connects to your mail server. That piece is kind of confusing to me. If they put a mail server in there too, I'd be like, oh, this is getting kind of cool. But then again, it's going to start bloating that core product though too, for sure. Let's see here. Netbox for IPAM has a great API. That's what I hear. That's funny. Like I heard a lot about Netbox for about a month and then didn't hear anything about it. So I wonder if it's people are still using it or interested. Zezzy, so I'm planning on going with SyncThing plus Libre Photos and Radical. Awesome. Yeah, I really enjoy SyncThing. I use it myself too. I've noticed that SyncThing, I mean, you probably noticed this too, but if you have a lot of nodes it's watching or folders, it can take a long time to parse a lot of those folders. I've noticed that, so I've had to do some tuning on SyncThing for sure. But I really like it. I do wish there was a way to schedule it. I know that goes against keeping things in sync in real time. But I have a need to only sync things at certain periods of time, and for me, it's just to make my data available everywhere. Or not everywhere, but just in more places. And sometimes if I delete something and, you know, I don't have my history turned on in SyncThing, you know, that gets deleted everywhere. So there are times when I just want to sync things on a schedule, and I know I can script that and stuff like that. Right now, my solution is turn the old server on, let it sync, turn it back off. It's good enough for me. I didn't automate that yet. I'll probably do it in the BIOS, but yeah. Love those. I don't know anything about Radical. I assume it's a calendaring solution. I'll have to check it out for sure. For Reverse proxy is your friend for exposing services. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Hi, Lou. Gotta roll. Catch everyone on Discord later. Dude, thanks. Good to see you, dude. Thank you so much. Instant registers technotim.com and puts in a Rickroll on it. Yeah, I think you're gonna pay a pretty penny for technotim.com. I think someone already owns it. I don't know. I got live, so that's mine for now. We'll see. Phantom Way installed traffic but couldn't figure out how to add hosts, etc. Wanted it standalone and not connected to any Docker providers. Guess I will have to read the manual, but nothing was straightforward. Yeah, so there is a lot of magic with traffic. It can do a lot of stuff magically for you, and if you don't understand where the magic is, it can be pretty confusing. I don't understand what you say though when you want it for standalone and not connected to any Docker providers. I assume that means you're just going to install traffic yourself and use it that way. Yeah, I'll agree that traffic's documentation is scary. It is, man. I appreciate that it's there, but it is crazy. And if you've never seen it, there's like they have like subheaders for every type of attribute or property that you can configure, and then on top of that, they show you how to do it in TOML, YAML, and through the CLI. And it's like, whoa. And sometimes you just want to understand what a thing is or an attribute or property is, and you end up like seeing just way too much. Anyways, they should have a wizard. They should totally have a decision tree that's like, what do you want to do today? And you're like, I want to build a traffic config. And then you say, okay, well, are you using Docker? Yeah. Or are you using Kubernetes? Yeah. No, I'm using Kubernetes. Okay. And then it should totally say, well, are you using YAML, TOML? Are you going to execute this from, a binary? Anyways, I digress. Their documentation can use some help. The best way that I've found and on top of that, all of their documentation is commingled in Google right now because, 2's been out for a while, but more people still use 1. And so every time you search, you're like, is this 1 or 2? Is this 1 or 2? You have no idea unless you look for the version in the upper left-hand corner or right-hand corner, and sometimes that's not even there. So anyways, long story short, the best examples I found are either from other people in GitHub or from blogs. blogs. And Traffic even has their own blog, which, I don't know, has terrible SEO. But I found one blog on article on how to configure Traffic 2 with Kubernetes. It was like everything I was looking for, except for I couldn't find it. And when I stumbled on it, I bookmarked that thing. I'm like, this is my go-to now. Anyways, PC Geek, talk to you later. Bartseek, Traffic uses host name-based redirection. Thank you. It's layer 7. Thank you. Why Nginx over Traffic? I mean, that's going to be a personal choice, I think. I think we talked about this earlier, but that's going to be a personal choice whether or not you want, Traffic or Nginx. I know, yep. Nginx Proxy Manager is another great one. Instant, right there with you. Spinners only for big data. Data stores need to be fast. Yeah, no more spinners for me. Gunny, all the benefits of going all SSD made everything substantially smoother for me. Only hard drives I have in my disk array too. Yeah, that's where I'm at now. And I'm to the point where I'm like, I would love to get some low cost SSDs and replace these. I mean, am I going to get, 8 terabytes in SSD? No. If things got cheap enough to where I can get 4 and have to buy double, I would consider it. Mainly because noise, heat, and just reliability. But yeah. Performance for me, for my disk shelf, not a big deal, but those drives give off some heat, especially when they're in array. Hey Alex, the R man, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Welcome, how you doing? Let's see here. I'm gonna go with Fahad Sherry. Hi, first time joining a live stream. Love your work, thank you. I want to ask you about Chinese motherboards for Proxmox. Fire away. I haven't used them. X79s, I haven't used them. I see a lot about them. Craft Computing does a lot of stuff on them, if that's what you're referring to. But I haven't. I looked at them when I was building it in my 1U servers, but I couldn't make it work. Zoker DE, I want all the Docker files to not be on LXC container, but rather on a central storage like a NAS or USB stick. Actually, there will only be some config files on it, but nothing big. So I want all my Docker files to not be on on LXC container, but rather on a centralized storage like a NAS or USB stick. So when you say Docker files, do you mean like your configuration, or do you mean like actual Docker files, like the file you use to build a Docker container? I'm assuming you mean your configuration once you instantiate that container. So your config and your data and everything that goes inside of it. You know, that's a tough one. Do you want that on remote storage? It could be. You'd have to mount a path like NFS or something, or mount some storage remotely, and then tell your Docker container when it spins up, hey, the location is that mount path, and that's how you could do it remotely. But then, like I was saying earlier, like all the things about now your NAS, if you reboot it, all that stuff, all your containers are going to freak out. But yeah, that's totally doable. And you want it to be outside of an LXC container. I'm assuming that then you're using an LXC to store for storage. I don't know enough about your infrastructure, but totally doable what you want to do, and not impossible for sure. Let's see here. Bardseek, K3S, KAS, or K3S or Kates. It's a bit too complex for most self-hosted setups. It can be. Yeah, it can be. You know, and some would say the same about Docker too. I mean, think about like when you originally, you know, started trying out Docker. You might have said like, "Whoa, VMs are so much easier," you know. So it depends on what you want to take on, and it depends on what you want your availability to be. You know, because in Docker, you know, easier to manage than Kubernetes. Heck yeah, way easier, right? All your state is there on that machine. All the files are there on that machine. You only have one IP to route all of your traffic to. You can expose those ports however you want. Yeah, absolutely. Is it simpler? Yes. Is it less complex? Yes. For self-hosted setups. So when you say self-hosted setups, now that could mean a couple of things. Is it just for internal services in your home? I mean, that's one way of self-hosting it, right? Or one aspect of self-hosting. Yeah, it is. You know, well, would you like to be able to reboot that machine or restart or patch that machine? You know, if there needs to be patching. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, well, what happens when you reboot it? Well, everything goes offline. You know, every Docker container is not working for 2-3 minutes. Maybe I'm exaggerating, depending on how fast your infrastructure is. You know, and so that's where Kubernetes comes in, because now you can say like, hey, these containers can be on this node, they can be on another node, or they can be on another node, or name your amount of nodes. And so you're able to easily, with a lot of configuration, you know, take those nodes down, and then have those pods move to other nodes while still keeping your service available. And again, there's a lot of, I'm going to do a lot of hand waving because there is some magic, but at the same time, you know, there's a lot of concurrency that those services would have to figure out, right? Can you run 2 Plex servers at the same time? No, you know, because that's how they design that Docker container and how that whole entire infrastructure works. So you don't get higher availability per se with something like Plex or you name it. It has to be built into the software itself. But for something like Nginx or your web server or WordPress, only the front end piece, yeah, you know, say, you know, you're self-hosting your blog and you have the WordPress front end piece, scale it to 4. Let that live on any one of your 4 nodes, or maybe 3 on one node, 2 on whatever, and let Kubernetes figure it out. So then when you have to reboot or patch one of those servers, you can either drain it or you can just reboot it and let Kubernetes figure it out. So is it too complex? It depends. It depends. It depends on who you are, what you want to take on. Is it worth it? I don't know. It all depends because, you know, too complex, you know, it is an opinion. And is it too complex for me? You know, there are times where I'm like, whoa, like almost every day I'm like, am I doing the right thing? But, you know, I think of my pain points over time. And my pain points over time is I only have one machine. I can't reboot this one machine now that I have two, you know. So for a long time, yeah, it was, I only have one machine does this work. And then it turned into, okay, I can virtualize, and now I have two machines, and then I throw all my virtual machines on different, you know, on the same host, but, you know, their own virtual machine. And then it turned into like, okay, well, I want to reboot this whole entire, you know, virtual machine, or the host itself. And so that turned into, okay, two hosts. And then it was like, okay, all my Docker containers are on one server. What happens when I need to reboot it? Well, all heck is going to break loose, because nothing that's running on there is going to work. And so for me, it's just been this evolution of pain points. You know, and the same goes with Kubernetes. It was like, you know what, I want to be able to patch some of my hosts. I want to, you know, if something goes wrong with one of my virtual hosts, I want my services to still be alive and work. And that's, you know, like I said, it's just an evolution of pain points, like the storage one was today. You know, I used NFS or bind mount when I had to, and that had its pain points of storage not being there ever, especially on bind mounts across nodes, or having to do some magic with that and NFS together. And so again, it's just always been an evolution. But do you need to do it at home? Absolutely not. If you're absolutely fine with Docker, and it's running great, I always say this, but you've already done the hard work of thinking about, how do I containerize these workloads, and then how do I, you know, persist that data that's in there, and then how do I do the networking to all these workloads? And so you've already done the hard work. And so is it too complex? Depends on who you are. Is it too complex for me? No, because I want, not that I want complexity, I want the availability that I'm going to end up getting on this, and the portability too. Not to say that I'm gonna do this, but you know, with Kubernetes, I have the option to go hybrid cloud now, which is pretty awesome. So if I move or something happens, you know, spin up a Kubernetes node and name your cloud, drain these nodes here, shift those workloads up there. Obviously, they're, you know, a little more networking. Oversimplifying it, but it gives me that ability to do that really quick, or even add another node or whatever. But yeah, so lots of flexibility, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it for sure. Fahad Sherry, it also worth creating a separate box for Proxmox, because already have a dedicated TrueNAS with some jails. Yeah, I'd probably create separate if you can. If you can't, I mean, I virtualized my TrueNAS, zero problems. It's been running fantastic. Let's see here. Yes, it can. It can be an SSD or NAS storage or whatever. Just want some important files. All my Docker containers not to be locked in an LXC container. Yeah, I agree. Zoker, the idea is that every Docker container has its own folder on the external storage, like USB, Docker PiHole, etc. Oh yeah, that would work if you can multi-mount a USB drive like that. Yeah, I mean, then you're just talking about, you know, how do you organize files on any mount? Working on setting up Elk plus Graylog for log consolidation. Nice, Elk. So Elastic, Logstash, Kibana. Nice. Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. It's been a while since I've done a lot of Logstash stuff, but yeah, totally fun. And Kibana stuff too, especially setting up alerting. It's fun once you get it set up. The configuration sometimes is like, oof, but once you get it, it's pretty awesome. Easton, picked up a book on how to learn to code. Nice. Really trying to learn a lot and better myself in 2021. Yeah, that is awesome. Fantastic for you, for sure. Awesome. What code? Interested. Hopefully Python or JavaScript. Not Java. No, I'm just kidding. There's probably a lot of people who like Java. Sorry about that. So, Mihan official. Hello. I am new to network and servers, but I'm starting to build myself a little home lab, and we are in need of a UPS. What do I need to look for? Something that shuts down automatically, or wow, yeah, that one's tough. So I have I don't know, I have it somewhere. It's probably in some link somewhere, but I have a rack mounted UPS, and I have some non-rack mounted UPSs. And so what do you look for? I think runtime. how much runtime you're going to get. And that's based on how much load you're going to put onto it. So it's really hard to gauge unless you know ahead of time how many watts are these things pulling, and then, you know, how many minutes is that going to give me. For me, I don't treat my UPS as like how many minutes it's going to give me, you know, so I'm not looking to really extend the power on the devices that I have. I just need enough time to be able to safely shut down a lot of my stuff when it gets to a certain point. And I know that sounds like weird, like, oh, you're just buying a UPS to shut my stuff down. Well, no, actually, for me, I think that's a good idea. Is one, because I could never power an entire rack for, it cost a lot of money to power my entire rack, to buy a battery, to be able to do that for more than 10, 15 minutes, what I get out of it now. And so I have mine just for, you know, spikes, surges, brownouts, like all the fluctuations in power that just happen naturally or unnaturally, but they happen. And then on top of that, it's for the occasional flickers, storm, where it goes out for half a second, 1 second, 2 second, right? To smooth all that out. Anything over that, anything over like a couple minutes, then I would invest in something that's gonna have a USB cable to where you can install software to then safely shut down those devices. At least that's how I see it in my opinion. I would love a battery that would power my whole entire house, you know, maybe soon, we'll see. You know, for me, it's like I said, it's just to smooth over all of those rough edges, all of those bumps, all of those gaps in power. And then anything over that, it's shut down. And what is it going to shut down? It's going to start shutting down everything. The only gotcha to that I've struggled with for a long time afterwards is, so what happens when the power comes back on? And so I have some tricks up my sleeve, and you saw a little bit in my PiHole, or in my infrastructure video with my Raspberry Pi, my Pi Zero. But the problem you then start to run into is like, okay, well, those machines are off. They were shut down safely. And so those machines don't know that the power is back on unless you have something externally to tell them. And they don't know to turn back on. And so maybe that's okay for you. But if you have servers, right, when the power goes back on, you want them to say, hey, the power's back on. And I get it that in the BIOS of a lot of machines, you can say, go to last power state. But if you think, what was the last power state? Well, it was shut down safely, so the last power state is off. You can say always on, but that wouldn't be good, right? Because if you shut down all your devices safely, you have 5 minutes left, and then they just say always turn back on. Well, they're not going to turn back on, but if they lose power, they'll turn back on. So you're kind of like stuck in this weird scenario. So those are some of the things you'll have to figure out and consider. They have absolutely nothing to do with the UPS you're going to choose. Just things to consider if you are planning on, you know, using a UPS to power services out of your home. So for me, it's like I said, I have a Raspberry Pi that then is not on my UPS, so that if that's off, it can't do its job, which is checking to see if machines are up and trying to turn them back on. And so that's I don't keep my Pi Zero on a UPS for that specific reason, because he is the source of truth for power in my house. And so yeah, so if he's not on, he can't ping or do wake on LAN to things. And so when power comes back on, then he can. So anyways, yeah, it's a good question. It's a lot of things to figure out. It's a lot of things to figure out for sure. The BartSeek, you will not always have a new drive. Had Seagate replaced spinning disks, got back refurbished one last year after the warranty. Yeah. And so I'm not expecting when I said I'm gonna call manufacturers out on their warning, on their warranty. I don't expect a brand new drive. Like, I get it, they have to refurbish stuff, but I just want to be made whole. And that's all a warranty is supposed to do, is make you whole. Does it put you in a better place that you were before? No. It could if they give you a brand new one, right? But I think the point of a warranty is to make you whole, and the whole is a working product. So yeah, I agree. I used to get kind of like weird about that, like when I did a warranty and they give me a refurbished one. I'm like, I don't want this refurbished one. But at the same time, it got a lot of care. It was inspected probably more than the one on the retail shelf was that died on me. So anyways, I digress. But I used to get kind of weird about that, but now I'm like, no, I just need to be made whole. Just want a working drive. That's it. Let's see here. At work, we have using Samsung grade drives for Ceph cluster. We have for almost 5 years, maybe lost 2% of the drives. That's awesome. That is reassuring because a lot of the stuff that I've been saying is just kind of my gut feeling and what I think is right. So yeah, good to know for sure. You will not always. Oh, we read that one. Oh, jumped a little bit. Oh, there's something that got held by Automod. I have a question. So this is from. I can't see who it's from until it's. Sorry, Automod is weird. Smonty, here we go. Hi Tim, I have a question please. I need to spawn my microservice in GCP Kates. I need to dynamically assign a port to each, like 80, 81, 82, 83. This can be accomplished by a config map, but I'm a little stuck and I have no idea how to do it. Can you please give me some hints? Thank you very much. So, I'll be honest with you. I've never. So I think you're in the right track. Is doing something with a config map. I've done config maps before. Most of them are kind of handed to me, and then the other pieces are just me plugging in values for all the properties. But dynamically assigning a port, I've never done it. I'd have to Google it too. And this is in GCP Kates, which is GKE, I think. Don't know the answer. I'd have to Google it too. So I wish I knew off the top of my head. Done config maps before in Kubernetes. I do them even here because I have a config map for my traffic. Like I totally understand what you're trying to do, but most of the time, every time, I guess I should say, my config maps have been static values and not anything dynamic because it's a config. I don't know how else to say it, but it's a config and it's something that I want repeatable. So doing something, having a config map, then do something that isn't repeatable or have a different outcome each time would not be something that I've ever done because I want, like any config, I want that itself to be repeatable. So let me know if that helps or what you're going after, because maybe what you're going after doesn't necessarily need to be dynamic. TBS depends on your wattage, but most of them should hold at least a couple of minutes, which gives you plenty of time for auto shutdown. Generally plan for 10 minutes for a graceful shutdown. Yes, it's exactly what I said, except for I said it in 20 minutes. So I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Winston 234 Ohio gozaimasu. Yeah, for sure. Hey guys, I hate to do this because I am nowhere near the end of comments, and so I'm gonna go as quick as I can because I want to get through these, but I do have to kind of wrap things up really quick. And so before I do want to encourage you though, if you are new to the channel, there were so many new names and so many great questions, so many new topics, so many new ideas. I want to encourage you to join our Discord. You can do that by typing in !Discord, and that will give you a Discord link to our community. I just typed it in there, and if I could type, it would be there. But there's a link. What am I typing? I'm sure it. There we go. Anyways, I'm like, oh, I'm doing it sideways. PC Geek, thank you so much. I do encourage you to join. There's no obligation to, of course, but there are lots of people in here that seem new, that have questions, that like to talk about these kinds of things. And I understand how hard it is to talk to people you may know in real life about these things because they most of the time aren't interested, like it has been in my case for a long time. I encourage you to join, and I will try to I'm going to skim through comments and see if there's something specifically that someone wanted to have answered. And I'm just going to do it as quick as I can because I do have to wrap things up. W. Cardi said, hey, Longhorn is great. Longhorn also has a provisioner if needed. It's simple code in the GitHub repo. I saw that. Thank you for that. Trying to look, Captain Tidbit. Hey, Tim, how do you decide what goes into a virtual machine VM? I'm looking at migrating existing Linux Mint desktops. Whoa, lots going on there. VS Code server, containers, split into containers. I need to ? I want to add services, database, version control. Should they each have their own VMs / containers? I'm new to this all, so this was coming from Captain Tidbit. I hate to answer it with a video, but I have a video called "Should I containerize this or should I virtualize this?" And I think that will give you the general gist of the idea. But I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. I never ask, should I virtualize something? I always ask, can I containerize something? If I can't, then I say, can I virtualize something? And then if not, I say, okay, I guess it's bare metal. So I don't think about going that way. I think about the opposite because again, I have infrastructure here in place now to containerize things. Just think if like, hey, you were like, hey, I have this virtual infrastructure. Now I'm going to build lots of virtual machines and put them in there, right? Well, now I have a container orchestration framework to put lots of containers. So now I'm in that mode of like, no, it's an incremental add to add one more small container to my existing infrastructure and manage it that same exact way. So I go the opposite way and ask, can I or can't I containerize this? And the answer a lot of the times is yes, you can, but then there are things that you can't. So yeah, I'm scrolling through real quick. W. Cardi, are you using service mesh like Istio or linkers in any of your deployments? Not yet. Istio probably coming soon, but yeah, not yet. It's super interesting. I need to know more about it for sure. Now I'm to the end, so that was kind of quick. I only look for ones that were mentions. Captain Tibbet, thank you. Hey, no problem at all. So like I said, if you're new here, I encourage you to join the Discord. I encourage you to connect after this, have a chat. Introduce yourself. Don't introduce yourself, but check out some of our topics because a lot of these things we talked about are there. I thank you so much for, I kind of say this in the videos, but I just wanted to make sure I call it out specifically too. Thank you so much for everything in 2020. I can't imagine. I mean, if anyone would ask me, you know, would people watch your videos when I started this? I would say, heck no. Actually, I would say, yeah, they would. And then, you know, after the third, I was like, who would watch this stuff? But so I'm just so honored and humbled that you guys continue to watch my stuff and that you continue to interact with me because it's just incredible. So thank you for everything in 2020. Here's the 2021. Thank you so much for joining today, asking great questions, great topics. And if you need anything, ping me on Twitter, ping me on Discord, wherever. So have a good night. Have a great weekend. I'll see you Tuesday and be good to each other. Take care.